Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuff and things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants. So, Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Well, as Cowser moving back, it's going to go off the wall in center field. They're going to wave in Antonacci. The throw to the plate. Save! 2-1. Lines this one to center field. Colson Montgomery, the windmill is on. Throw to the plate. And they got to know the ball comes out. They had him and the ball was kicked loose. Bruce Dreckman signaled out. Then he saw the ball and safe at the plate.
Oh, boy, yeah, that courtesy of the Chicago Sports Network as the Orioles lose again. Third straight. Back to 8 games, 500, under 500, matching a season worst. Hey, but other than that, everything is good. Good time for me to go away. Good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn, he's Griffin, and in studio with us this morning, man, this guy, the definition of the word legend.
Oh, come on.
And
now.
on top of that, just a truly great guy. You know him from WBAL. He is the great Keith. And once upon a time, right here at Press Box as well, he is the great Keith Mills. And he's back in studio with us. It's so good to see you, brother.
Glenn, Griffin, it's a pleasure to be here. Anytime I can spend time with John Colson.
You don't need to kiss his ass. You don't need to.
Well, obviously Stan Charles is not here, but, man, those guys, when they started Press Box, man, what's it now, 20?
Yeah, 20.
20-some years, 22
20,
years?
20
20
this
years.
Was 20, right?
And Stan approached me, and I was coming off some difficult personal issues, as most people know at that time. And Stan and John were one of the first people to open the door, and I'll never forget that.
Man, it is so good to have you here. It is. I have appreciated all the time that we've been able to spend together since I've joined the staff over at WBAL. Brother. It was, Keith and I have been friends for a long time, but Keith had been since you were at Channel 2 when I started in radio. And then we just never been at the same place at the same time.
Exactly.
That's just the way that it always worked until now. And so it's been one of the great pleasures. There was a picture from opening day of me and Keith and Kirk McEwen, and I was like, man, I've known these guys for forever. They are Baltimore institutions, guys that I've looked up to, and now I'm getting to hang out and work with them. Now I just get to call it work. I just get to go on opening day. I got to sit around with Keith for an hour and a half and just talk baseball.
Well, back to you, brother. What you're doing and what you guys are doing, and man, it's the guests you're getting, the relevance you're putting on amateur sports, not just the Ravens and the Orioles and colleges, is great. And the baton has been passed. I love the fact that you guys are doing a lot of, like I said, local. Flaunting the local athletes.
Yeah, man.
That's
celebrating.
Great. Speaking of Kirk McEwen, I spent a lot of time down in Sarasota. Kirk and his family were down, staying in one of our condos down there. You know how Kirk's talking. Your name came up. Kirk goes, man, I tell you what, man. That guy knows everybody. He knows everybody. I said, Kirk, standing behind you, that's saying a lot.
Kirk always. I got to tell you, there was a wild moment for me. Kirk had his brother stop by the studio.
Mark,
right?
Yeah,
Who's,
Mark was down there too.
A legend, right?
Absolutely.
Like an absolute legend of this business. And Kirk and Mark are walking out of the 98 Rock studio, and he sees me in the newsroom, and he walks over with his Mark, and he's like, Mark, you got to meet this guy. You don't understand. Glenn knows everybody. I'm like, You are Kirk and Mark McEwen. Like the two of you, everybody.
Yes.
It was a wild moment for me.
And anyway, that building, the WBAL 98, WBAL TV, radio, and 98 Rock. There are some personalities in that building, man, aren't they?
It has been wonderful for me. It's really been wonderful for me to be over there and to be hanging out and getting obviously Brian Neiman, who I've been very close with for a long time, and getting to do shows with him. It's just been really special for me to be over.
Well, you're doing
there,
a great
so.
job. You're one of the few that can translate both sports and then make the transition into the political forum today, which is not easy.
Yeah, it's not always a lot of fun.
Man,
but,
I'll tell you what, some dynamite out there, isn't there?
We've been doing a lot with that. Well, it's great to see you, brother.
Always a pleasure,
appreciate
man.
you being
here. Tough
here.
loss again for the Birds last night.
Not ideal. We got a lot to do today. Keith's going to hang out for a while. Coming up this hour, Marlo Wax, Chargers linebacker, undrafted free agent, Mount St. Joe alum, Baltimore native, made the roster, became a significant special teams player. He was back in town this week hosting a football camp at Mount St. Joe. So we're going to talk to him about that, his rookie season in the NFL, how he was able to beat the odds, make the team. And then also, obviously, he knows a thing or two about the Ravens head coach. So we will talk to him about all of those things. And then later on in the program, Ben McDonald will join us. I always like to try to get Ben on. Unfortunately, we're going to be gone for July 1st, but I've had a tradition with Ben that he comes on July 1st so he can welcome us, of course, to the month of July, which is one of my favorite things. Man. So we'll talk to Ben later. And then Jim Bowden, former Major League Baseball GM, Sirius, all the other places. Get his thoughts on what the Orioles do moving towards the deadline. And, Keith, a couple of things that I want to start with you. Because you and I have talked about the Orioles. We were just chatting about the frustrations this season on Saturday over on BAL.
We were.
I don't know how to make heads or tails of it. I still don't know how to explain, because I do keep coming back to this team is more talented than their record is. Yeah. They should be better than this. I don't think this was appropriate. They should be better than this. They have pitched better than I think we could have expected them to. Their defense obviously has been wretched. The bullpen started out okay, and then obviously that's been a bit of an issue. But it's the offense now that you're just sort of left shrugging your shoulders, and I cannot, for the life of me, explain what is going on, both like with Gunnar Henderson in general, runners in scoring position, even again last night. Like, they only scored 2 runs, but they had the bases loaded and nobody out, and they got 1 run across. I cannot figure out, for the life of me, why this team is as bad as it is given the parts that they have.
I totally agree, and I think Mike Elias, Craig Alvarez, the entire coaching staff, front office are scratching their heads saying the same thing. Gunnar did a lengthy interview yesterday with the local media and talked about his issues, and man, you could almost see and feel his complete frustration, not just him personally, but for the team as well. I think he kind of wears that right now, Glenn, and that's a hard thing to wear because he is the centerpiece offensively of that. Him and Pete Alonso right now of that offense, and man, when one of your big guns is not producing offensively, that's a major problem. And it's. Pete Gilbert and I talk about this all the time when the Ravens go through a funk. It's never one thing or it's never one player. It's a variety of things that snowball, and that's what's happening right now. And, you hear, the Ben McDonald's and guys that have played the famous line at the famous Yogi Berra line is baseball is 100% mental and 100% mental. And, man, but particularly at this level, and particularly when you go through some struggles, man, it wears on you because the good thing is you get to play every night and try to come out of it. I wish I had the magic answer. I'm kind of – I felt bad after we got done talking on BAL the other day. I talked a lot, but I didn't say much.
But I think
because nobody knows what to say.
It's the difficult part about this. We're all feeling the same thing, which is there's no reason this team should be this bad. And the Gunnar Henderson conversation is so complicated because we can't ignore he's been pedestrian.
Yeah.
And at the same time, any hope for the Orioles to be better is going to involve Gunnar Henderson looking a little bit more like Gunnar Henderson. And could he just wake up and snap out of it? maybe he had a couple of hits last night.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean,
what did you think of Albernaz putting him in the leadoff spot?
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
You know, try to shake him up a little bit, or try to shake things up a little bit. You know, I grew up at a time when you wanted your best hitters at 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the case anymore. When Aaron Judge bats second, had batted leadoff a couple of times in his career. But you know, the leadoff hitters batting leadoff basically just one time a game. But if maybe it'll help, I don't know. You know, the lineup structure. You know, Craig Albernaz says it's all his, and Mike Elias said that the other day too.
But there's
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. It's a cute way of saying it, right? Like, I don't make the lineups. I don't think anybody has ever believed that Mike Elias is actually the one writing the lineup.
Absolutely. Let's hope not.
No one's ever thought that's the case. But he's talked before about their advanced team. He has said publicly, like, there is input, and there's an organizational structure of this is how we do things. This is what we do. This is what the data tells us to do, and this is what you're going to do. This is how he doesn't have to write the lineup because Craig Albernaz knows how it is the organization wants the lineup written.
Yeah. The whole you said something interesting. The advanced team, the statistical what the word I'm looking for is the statistical
analytic.
Yeah, well, it's almost like the young statistical minds that are in that situation.
The nerds, is that what you're?
That are, you know, are presenting the statistical information to the players. I'll go back to what Manny Machado said 2 weeks ago. He goes, man, enough of the statistics. Man, we are deluged with statistics from a hitter standpoint. This is a San Diego Padres start, but everybody does it. I just want to go up there, see the ball, hit the ball, leave me alone, and let me swing the bat the way I know how to swing the bat. I don't need somebody telling me every 5 minutes what the pitcher's going to throw in this count and with the score 2-1 or down 5-2 or whatever. I just want to go up, see it, hit it, and let me play. And I think a lot of players right now feel that way. I think they're overwhelmed with the statistical deluge of information that they're given, and I think it's affecting how the game is played around the league. I mean, there's some bad baseball being played around Major League Baseball. Fundamentally, yes, but also approach at the plate. I mean, how many strikeouts are we going to see in Major League Baseball this year? It's got to set a record.
Well, you're swinging.
I mean, the Orioles are averaging 9 or 10 a game.
You're swinging for home runs. Like that's what they're doing.
Launch angle, and now it's filtering down to the kid. Your son's 11 years old playing amateur baseball, and I went to a camp last week in Anne Arundel County. Really good. Been around for a long time, and it's launch angle, exit velocity, and for pitchers, it's spin rate and fastball velocity.
And not, backside, not
and
with,
man,
two,
I'm like,
with two strikes. Go hit it the opposite way. Go get your base hit and get on base.
And what's the situation in the game? You were run down in the 8th. Home run could tie it, but get some guys on. And if you get a couple guys on, try to move them over and produce some runs without the long ball.
It's interesting you bring that up because I think there was a lot of pushback from the fan base about the idea of Gunnar batting leadoff. And look, I get it. The way that he has performed, you don't want him in the leadoff spot. But it does make me wonder if what they're specifically trying to correct is, now Gunnar, of course, said a couple weeks ago, no, I'm not just out there swinging for home runs, but you bring up launch angle. We've got the data. Like, he's changed his launch angle this season. So if this is their way of saying, stop it. You're going to lead off. Your responsibility now is we need you getting on base. And we need you to start thinking about, again, with 2 strikes, just take the backside.
Yeah.
Like, go to left field. Go get your base hit.
Go on play. Yeah.
Get on base, get something going. And maybe it's also a similar thought for Taylor Ward, which is like, hey, we appreciate that you've been getting on base, but we kind of needed you to hit some home runs.
Get some pop.
That's the reason why you were here. So maybe if Gunnar is on base a little bit more, you don't feel like you always need to take a walk because you're leading off. I don't know if it's going to work. They only scored 2 runs last night, but Gunnar did have a couple of hits. But I do understand the thought process of maybe trying to mix these guys up and get them to approach things a little bit differently.
I totally agree. You can't. Craig Albernaz is under the gun as well. Hard to really kind of evaluate his role in all this, because again, the roster has been such in flux because of injury or poor performance. Every day there's a roster move. I mean, every day there's a roster move. Most of it is pitching related, obviously. Getting some fresh arms in the bullpen. But even that, and this started with Buck Showalter here and Dan Duquette. Now it happens all over baseball if you have your minor league systems close by. I mean, they're the Norfolk to Baltimore shuttle is every day. And I'm wondering if that is really an efficient way to use your talent.
Boy, this is a tough conversation, right? Because the thought is now this is what baseball teams, this is how we compete with the big boys, is that you have a 26-man roster. We have a 32-man roster, and right?
The Orioles used 40 pitchers last year.
Now, again,
One
some
pace
of that,
used 40 again.
they made some trades at the deadline, and that did change things a little bit. But you're right. And I do wonder, I think your point is well taken. Some of that has been forced this year because of injury.
Yeah, it's a good point.
They don't have a choice in certain circumstances. But like the thing the other day where they said, hey, we got to get Dylan Beavers back on the roster. There was a lot of consternation about the fact that it was Jeremiah Jackson who got sent down. On the flip side, the only other real option would be just getting rid of Tyler O'Neill, and that's a tough thing. As I said, I get it. I get why it is that people want Tyler O'Neill to just be gone, but it's punitive. Like, we just want him gone because we're frustrated
with him. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it an actual good decision to make from a business standpoint? That was tougher.
That's a good point. Now the Jeremiah Jackson thing, obviously this means you would think that Jackson Holiday is going to be your everyday second baseman, and you're going to find out if Jackson can play at this level long term, because that's still a question mark.
This is the real, if we listed off the issues, Gunnar Henderson's still probably the top of the list right now for this season, but Jackson Holiday was a 1-1. Jackson Holiday isn't supposed to be a good player. He's supposed to be a game changer.
Difference maker, no question.
And I get that he is still young, but he's just at no point has he really – every now and then, like the other day, you see the left-on-left home run, and you're like, right, that's incredible raw power, left on left. Like that's what you think is there, but it's fleeting. Like you see it every now and then, and you don't see it consistently. You certainly don't see an above average second baseman.
Right.
You kind of see a guy like when you watch Jackson Holiday, and I get it. There's a long time, and some guys it just doesn't happen until they're 25, 26, something like that.
And his injury situation, people, injuries, particularly young players, rarely have they had to deal with that. And so a lot of what could have been valuable at bats for him, and learning as much about the pitchers around the league as you possibly can, he hasn't been able to play. So that all the injury time he's missed is affecting his experience in regards to being a successful Major League Baseball player offensively. You got. What's he got? 300 at bats, maybe.
That sounds about
if
right,
that.
yeah.
And this is his third year now. I mean, that's
double check what that number is.
I could be wrong.
It might be a little bit more than that.
I mean, 300 at bat. I remember go back to Eddie Murray and Cal Ripken. Kenny Singleton said you need 1,500 at bats to 2,000 to really figure out if you can play at this level. And for every game he's missing,
it's way more than that. He's up to 872.
Okay, any game he's missing is hurting that. That development process, and I'm not so sure I agree with how they used him. Everybody that saw him play knew he wasn't going to be a shortstop because of the arm.
Do you think he should be in the outfield?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know.
Not that they have a better option.
I don't know.
Now.
I mean, they were using all kind of other infielders in the outfield.
They might as well throw him out there. And I'm not even trying to suggest it's something you do in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
it's something you'd have to go to him.
I don't know.
And I don't know that his family would be on board with it because you make more money playing in more prime position.
Well, right now, I mean, the family, I'm sure, has a say. His dad certainly may. But right now, man, if I'm Jackson, I'm trying to find a way where I can get consistent playing time and figure out how to play the game at the major league level. And because that's basically what he's learning. He's having to learn.
Keith Mills is in studio with us today. There is a new print issue of Press Box, which is available now. Great cover story all about Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown is not what's going wrong with the Orioles right now.
Yes, let's not Bring the
Griffin's
broadcasters
not
back into
convinced
it.
of that. Griffin couldn't help but notice that maybe when he was off doing softball, the Orioles were winning a couple of games.
They're winning a lot.
Kevin Brown on the cover of this print issue. It's also our annual summer travel issue with great sports tourism options all around the state for you and your family this summer. Go check that out. You can pick it up for free at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com as well. Let's talk about a couple of things projectable moving forward, Keith. Let's talk about the deadline. Because when you and I talked on Saturday, Mike Elias was busy, talking with the media and saying, hey, look, if this is where we are, we're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way it's going to be. And there's questions about, is Mike Elias feeling any pressure? Is he feeling any heat? And we can come back to that in a second. But I get it. Like, if you're 2 games under 500, you're certainly not going to, or 2 games out of a playoff spot, you're not going to want to sell off all your pieces and say, well, gee, gosh, golly, we just couldn't do it. That's a tough sell.
Yeah.
It's also tough to look at this group and see a championship contender in this group at the moment. What do they do, and how much does the next couple of weeks factor into what they do?
That's a great point. I mean, what? I mean, a guy who do you who do you go after? He said 2 days ago that if they're a game or two back, now they're 4 out of the wild card, and they're 8 under 500. So. This is going to be a huge 2-week stretch for the All-Star break and then another 2 weeks before the deadline. Mike's got to be – they got to be – I'll tell you what, his meetings right now with their scouts and their personnel guys, who knows what they're talking about?
What's interesting –
who do you get rid of? Who do you want to buy and make your team better? Do you have the resources to do that?
If you're buying controllable starting pitching, right? Like, that's what I've said over and over again. Now, look,
good luck to finding
correct.
that.
If Joe Ryan's available, he's at the top of everyone's
Sure.
list, and someone inevitably is going to have more than you have in order to go get him. It's not that maybe Reed Detmers. Now, I get Reed Detmers isn't Joe Ryan, but he is controllable starting pitching.
Yeah.
That's the top of my list is controllable starting
Everybody's
pitching.
list, no question.
Of course it is. Beyond that, now I think the question comes, is there an offensive profile that this team is missing? Is there a specific
What is their
type
offensive identity? That's
Right.
the question. I don't even know if do they have one?
I don't. You're asking. I got no.
You got
answer
some
to that
power in the
question.
lineup. But Alonso's the only one really kind of consistently hitting home runs.
Mm-hmm. That was
what-
supposed to be Taylor
they,
Ward.
they don't have a lot of speed, team speed. So what is their offensive identity? I mean, we hear that in football a lot. And sometimes I question offensive identity.
Yeah.
It's what? Score points. That's your offensive identity. I love this.
Move the ball.
Move
yes.
the ball. Run the ball 60 times and you throw it 30, whatever the heck it is. I don't know. But anyway, back to the Orioles. Their lineup. Their lineup is always it's shuffled all the time. Gunnar batting leadoff, Blaze Alexander batting 6th, batting 9th, batting 5th, whatever. Basayo, it looks like Basayo, and when he's in there, he's kind of etched in at the number 5. And I'm not a big lineup stability guy to begin with because, again, things change a lot. But you got to have a little bit of rhythm in your lineup, and I don't think the Orioles have that right now at all.
They don't. I think if you're shopping for a bat, and we'll see if they're in shopping mode. I don't know if they will be or not. Like, it really depends. But if they are, I do think that maybe this is one of those. We've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks about the idea of maybe you're doing a little bit of both at the deadline.
Yeah.
Maybe you're both buying and selling. And maybe some of that is just a course correction. Like, again, I appreciate the fact that Taylor Ward has gotten on base this season, but he's a pending free agent. If you can sell him and maybe find a different type of bat, find someone that's actually going to hit a few more home runs, maybe it's swapping out one for the other. This combination just hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It just hasn't. So I've prioritized. I still think the pitching and obviously the bullpen, I think at this point, if you're buying, you're looking for bullpen arms. But I don't know that you can't. An outfield bat, I think, has to be into this conversation.
Yeah. I mean,
If you're buying, and I'm still, right now, how are you justifying buying? I can't justify buying anything that's a rental at the moment. Anything that you're buying has to be with control.
Yeah. A bigger picture scenario is, my opinion, until they can develop some of their own starting pitching. Brandon Young is off to a good start. If they can develop 2 more kids, but there's nobody down there they're not drafting kids that are able
soon, right?
to come in this quickly.
Have some,
You got to start developing pitchers, or man, you're going to be in this. You're going to be behind the 8 ball for a long time because they're too expensive to buy.
Let's have the Adley conversation.
Yeah.
Presumably, I mean, Mike Elias did say again on Saturday, look, man, we want Adley to be here forever. We want him to we're not looking to trade him. I want to be committed to Adley Rutschman. But typically when you're this close to free agency, agents normally say, we're not going to negotiate with one team. We're going to negotiate with all of the teams.
Yeah.
And they can make all the offers they want. We're going to tell them, hey, make that offer when we get to free agency next year. And if you beat out all the other offers, we're happy to stay in Baltimore. And if that's what they're up against, Adley Rutschman's camp is just saying, hey, look, we're going to free agency. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
Then when do you start talking about that possibility? And obviously you don't have to do it. And I'm not even saying that I want the Orioles to do it. But I do think they have to consider it because if they end up in this spot again next year, then they're looking to move a rental piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now he might have some value.
Yeah. He certainly has some value, no question about it. Again, you're talking about a guy who's proven that he can play at this level, proven he's all-star caliber, but he's been hurt a lot, and that's being a catcher. The other question is you got Basayo, and after that you got Huff, and you got Creed Williams down on the farm who's playing well, but. I mean, are they good enough?
It's a fair question to ask.
Is Sam Basayo a 120-game catcher?
Exactly right.
And
I don't know
how
I feel about that. And I think this year and some of the issues they've dealt with has made us question that a little bit more, whether or not Samuel Basayo is a true 120-game type of catcher.
Yeah, a lot of questions. Mike and his staff, man, they got some work to do, obviously. But, you said something, I think it was a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it was you. I think it was you. Go back to 2 years. It was June 21st. And June 20th, they beat the Yankees. The next day, they got crushed by, I think it was Houston, 17-5.
Yes, and they end up getting swept.
Yeah, and since that day, they have been under 5. They've been sub 500 by, 20 games, 25 games?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting.
Well,
to say the least.
When
a lot of theories why.
When do we start talking about Mike Elias?
It's
difficult. I know you're not
everybody
the type,
has.
Yeah, I know you're never the guy that's calling for somebody to get fired.
No, I don't do that.
And that's not what my bid either. But I do think the conversation is relevant, which is
everything's relevant now.
How much leash has someone earned? To take nothing away from Mike Elias, and obviously he did build the team that won 100 games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to pretend like that didn't happen, but they also didn't capitalize on that. They didn't win a playoff series. They didn't win a playoff game. I at some point, I do think that this conversation has to be real.
No question. And talent evaluation is the ultimate evaluator for any general manager. You can again, drafting. Who do you sign in free agency? Talent evaluation. Do the guys you draft and the guys you trade for or free agent signings, do they make your ball club better? And in the last couple of years, that hasn't happened. And injuries, big reason why. And I'm not throwing Mike under the bus because there's a lot of other reasons for it. But the makeup of the team is his responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And one interesting thing that Craig Albernez said the last day of training camp, Pete Gilbert and I were down there, and I think it was I don't know who it was that asked him the question. It wasn't Pete. What's the final roster going to look like? And he goes, I don't know. I don't make that call. And that was, to me, like, I looked at Pete like, whoa. I'm assuming he's got something
you
to
would think
say
you'd
about
have some
it.
input. Like, I have an opinion about how this goes.
And if that's the way modern the current baseball landscape is, well, the manager, I can't imagine Dave Roberts or Don, when Mattingly was in Miami, now he's in Philadelphia. Yeah. I can't imagine those guys, Stephen Vogt, I can't imagine those guys do not have a lot of say as to who's going to be on their roster.
I think that list is small, though, Keith.
Woo!
I think that what's happening here is basically, like,
I agree.
Buck and I have talked about it a lot. He's like, I don't know that I could be
absolutely.
You really don't have any say on these types of things. And that's the difficult part. I was in the camp of when you fired your manager, you needed to go get a veteran a hard ass. You
Yeah.
needed to go get someone that was going to bring hellfire and brimstone with them and accountability. And I have no idea if Craig Albernaz is going to prove to be a quality major league manager or not. Maybe one day he will. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But it certainly doesn't seem like he's demanded accountability. It certainly doesn't seem like he stepped in on day one and said, this is going to end. All of these fundamental, the stuff that we watched last year, and we just said, what happened?
Now I will say this. I saw them, Cal Ripken was down in training camp pretty much the first week and a half, and we're working fundamentally on certain situations that we haven't seen before. They spent a lot of time in training camp and spring training on the fundamentals of baseball. And the fact that it hasn't translated tells me one thing, that the players that are playing can't do it.
There's probably something to be said for that.
Because we're talking halfway through the season, and this is the second year in a row.
I would
it's not
add
getting
to
better.
that, though, Keith, like, is there an ability for the manager to hold them accountable? Is there an ability to say, you do this again? And look, Blaze Alexander has arguably been their best player, but him getting thrown out at third base before a run scores on Friday night, they won the game. And yet that can never – it's happened to this team twice this year, where a runner behind has been the third out of the inning and cost them a run at the plate instead of saying, I have to stop and make sure that run gets home. And what is the penalty for that? There are certain things that this just can't happen, and there should be a penalty for it.
The ultimate penalty in sports is playing time.
Right.
But when you're subbing, so let's use Alexander. Okay, you pull him and you put,
yeah, they don't really have
Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah,
Let's say
right.
Alexander's playing the outfit. So put Tyler O'Neill in.
Yes, you're making your team worse. I mean, this is the difficult part of the conversation.
You've got. I'm assuming that Cal going down to do some work with the minor leagues is that's not getting taught down there either, and that to me is a red flag. Even though I'm not down there watching Bowie, and I'm not watching Norfolk obviously for Frederick. Even though I know Frederick's having a decent year, but can you play the game? Do you know how to play the game the right way? And I watched a lot of College World Series, and all those kids are trying to do is jack the ball. I mean, it's 15, 12, 14-10 games, and pitchers are throwing 98, and they can't throw the ball over the plate. So everybody can throw hard today. Can you pitch? Do you know how to change speeds? And I'm off.
You're good.
I'm
You're good.
drifting away from the but the subject is, can the players on the team, and any team right now in baseball, play the game fundamentally well? And I just don't see it, man. I mean, there's obviously some good things. Orioles went in and beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3. The Dodgers stunk it up.
Did happen. I want to, before we move on, I just want to react to, there was a comment last night from Craig Albernaz that got people worked up. And I do think that, like, the context is important. And knowing what the question was that was asked, I think, is relevant. This is courtesy of Masson, because there was a lot of response to this, and I feel like it's not as bad as you think it was. This was the interaction that he had.
I know every loss is disappointing, but a couple days ago, you guys were below 500, and Mike Elias comes out and kind of gives a supportive message to this team that he wants to go for it at the deadline. And since you guys have gone 0-3, it's just additionally disappointing just a few days after Mike's comments.
Yeah, you would think that would hope that, eases some pressure if guys are feeling pressure in the clubhouse, but it's one of those things where there's a lot of noise that the players are listening to outside, so it's stopping the distractions and feeding your focus. That's the biggest thing for our guys. So hopefully come in tomorrow ready to go.
I think that people were very reactive. Like, what are you talking about? They're struggling with outside noise. What? I think the answer is fine. I think it is kind of bizarre to be in a spot where you need the general manager to come out, or the president of baseball operations to come out and say, "Hey, we're going for it." Like, I can't imagine that these players need that.
You would hope not.
I can't imagine that.
I don't think they need that. I don't think Mike's message was to the players. I think it was to the fans.
I thought it was,
to be honest
too.
with you. And Craig right here, I think, You know, any manager, John Harbaugh was the last 5-6 years, that was his message to the players a lot. Stay the heck off of social media and don't listen to the outside noise. But is that realistic today? No. Todd Monken said that.
Mm-hmm.
He said that's unrealistic to think those guys aren't going to get on social media and find out what people were saying about them.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to tell them, the agent, the friends, wife, father, whatever. That's part of now being a professional athlete or a big-time college athlete, how you deal with the outside noise. The fact that the manager's got to address it, well, I took no offense to what Craig said right there. I think Craig's fighting a lot of fights right now. How can he get his team to relax? I'm not a big fan of a revolving lineup. Every night is different guys in different spots and different guys in positions. I know you're trying to keep guys fresh, man, but you got to find a way to get some consistency. And if that means playing some guys or sitting some guys longer than normal, you got to do it. The outside noise, that goes away if you start winning.
I think the way it was presented, just without, I think the way that on Twitter, I think people were presenting it without context.
Well,
and
the Twitter world, they're
never
happy about anything.
As if Craig Albernaz just said, well, these guys are it's really tough on them. They're dealing with all this outside pressure. The question that Jacob Kaltenmeyer asked was about Mike Elias's comments. I think that context is relevant. I don't think he's trying to make excuses or boy, they're just dealing with so much. I think it's a response to a question about what Mike Elias had said. I think that was the direct correlation to that. I think the players, Keith, I think there's way more internal pressure.
Oh, no question about
than there is
it's
external.
all internal.
I think this notion that these guys don't care.
Oh, no doubt about it.
I think there's way more. I think it probably has a lot to do with what you're seeing from Gunnar. That
no doubt about it.
He's pushing. He's desperately. We talked to Pete Alonso about it a couple weeks ago. Pete Alonso said he felt like he was overcooking to begin the year because he showed up somewhere and wanted to live up to all of the hype that there was around the arrival of Pete Alonso. He wanted to immediately be that guy, and he used the phrase. He's like, I was overcooking it a little bit, right? I was doing too much.
Yeah.
I think that internal pressure is always greater than
no question
external.
Particularly in this sport, it's baseball, basketball. You're getting a little tailspin, you might play harder or be a little bit more aggressive, particularly in football. Baseball, man, you can't do that. I mean, yeah, you run the bases hard. That is 99% of a mental game.
Yep.
And your physical skills get you signed, and how you deal with failure at the professional level, I think, determines how long you're going to be in the big leagues if the talent is equal.
No,
because failure, man,
is
and you know what? Another thing you see from younger kids coming in today, they're not allowed to fail. It's somebody else's fault. You're in high school. I went to see a high school game about a couple months ago with Spalding and McDonough at Spalding. Spalding's got one of the best programs in the, and I'm not going to name the kid or the parent, but this kid, who was a really good player, struck out the first 2 times against a decent pitcher, and I mean, he took a beating from his parents. I'm like, what? No. That happens. My point is, it happens at this level. It happens at the high school level.
I do that to Griffin when he makes mistakes on the show. Though. I'm all over him about it. I'm like, come on, kid.
Fear of failure at
Better
this.
than
Hey,
that.
fear of failure, man, is that's a cancer right now because kids they're afraid. I don't care what you're doing. They're afraid to make a decision because the reaction from either the adults in their world or coaches or whatever can be extreme, man.
I get it.
Even at this level.
I get it.
Even at this level.
I get it. Keith Mills is in studio with us today, of course. WBAL legend. It's the best.
So that means you're really
He's
old.
Keith Mills.
There was
man.
one
That's
legend to me.
Yeah.
That was Vince Bagley.
Well, he definitely Vince Bagley.
He taught
was
us
a
how to
legend.
do it.
There's no doubt about it.